You're here because someone has taken residence in your mind and you didn't give them permission to stay. They walk through your thoughts uninvited. They disturb your peace without even being present. And the worst part? They probably don't even know the power they hold over you. That ends today. Niccolo Machiavelli understood something that most people spend their entire lives ignoring. Emotion, when uncontrolled, is the fastest path to self-destruction. He watched princes lose kingdoms, not to stronger armies, but to softer hearts. He saw men of great potential crumble because they could not master the one enemy that lived within them: attachment. That word sounds innocent, even beautiful when poets speak of it. But let me tell you what attachment really is. It is a leash. It is a contract you signed without reading the terms. It is handing someone a knife and trusting they won't use it, even when history has shown you their hands are not steady. You are not here for comfort. You are not here for gentle advice that makes you feel warm but leaves you weak. You are here because something inside you knows there is another way. A colder way. A more powerful way. The way of the strategist, not the victim. The way of the king, not the beggar. What I am about to share with you is not therapy. It is not healing in the traditional sense. It is a method, a systematic, deliberate, unflinching process of reclaiming the most valuable territory you will ever own, your own mind. Machiavelli wrote for rulers. Today, you become the ruler of yourself, and the first act of any true ruler is removing those who threaten the stability of the throne. Stay with me. This is where your transformation begins. The truth about attachment. Let me strip away the lie you have been told your entire life. They told you attachment is love. They told you that needing someone is the proof of your devotion. They told you that the ache you feel when they are gone is the mark of something real. It is not. It is the mark of dependency. And dependency is not love. Dependency is a cage dressed in flowers. Dark psychology teaches us a brutal truth about human bonding. We do not always attach to people because they are good for us. We attach because they triggered something unfinished within us. A wound, a need, a hunger that existed long before they arrived. They did not create this need. They simply walked into the empty space and made it feel temporarily full. And now you confuse their presence with your wholeness. You think you need them. You do not. You need what you believe they provide. There is a difference, and understanding that difference is the first key to your freedom. Machiavelli observed that men are bound more easily by what they imagine than by what is real. You are not attached to this person. You are attached to a version of them you constructed in your mind, a version that perhaps never truly existed. You gave them a throne in your psychology, and now you bow to a ghost wearing their face. Attachment, when examined coldly, is simply an investment you made without guarantee of return. You deposited your peace, your energy, your identity, and now you wait, hoping they will honor the debt. But people are not banks. They do not owe you what you gave freely. The moment you understand this, the chain begins to weaken. Not because you are heartless, but because you are finally seeing clearly. Machiavelli's first principle: see people as they are. Machiavelli gave the world a gift disguised as cruelty. He told us to stop seeing people as we wish them to be and start seeing them as they are. This is not cynicism. This is survival. You have built a monument inside your mind to someone who may not deserve a single brick of it. You have edited their flaws, softened their betrayals, and explained away their neglect because it was easier than confronting the truth. The truth is uncomfortable. The truth does not care about your feelings, and the truth is simply this: people act according to their nature, not according to your hopes. Dark psychology reveals that humans are fundamentally driven by self-interest. This is not evil. This is design. Every person you meet is running a calculation, often unconsciously, measuring what they gain against what they give. The person you are attached to is no different. They did not stay because they loved you completely. They stayed because, for a time, you served a purpose in their equation. And if they left, or if they treat you with indifference now, it is because that equation changed. You did not fail. You simply stopped being useful to their unconscious strategy. Read that again. Let it burn where it needs to burn. Machiavelli wrote that a man who wishes to make a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to ruin among so many who are not good. You have been that man. You have been good, faithful, and emotionally available to someone who measured your worth on a scale you were never shown. No more. From this moment forward, you see clearly. You accept human nature without resentment, without bitterness, but with the cold clarity of a man who finally refuses to be deceived again. The mask of indifference. There is a weapon more powerful than anger, more devastating than revenge, and more terrifying to those who once controlled you. It is indifference. Not the fake indifference you perform while your insides scream for their attention. Real indifference, the kind that lives in your bones, the kind that makes you look at someone who once owned your emotions and feel nothing but the quiet hum of your own peace. Machiavelli understood that power is largely perception. Those who appear unshakable become unshakable. Those who seem unbothered cannot be manipulated. The man who needs nothing from you can never be controlled by you. This is why the mask of indifference is not deception. It is training. You wear the mask first, and eventually, your face grows into it. Dark psychology teaches us that emotional reactions are information. Every time you respond with jealousy, anger, or desperate longing, you are handing over intelligence to the enemy. You are showing them where to strike. You are revealing that they still occupy territory in your mind. Silence that transmission. Go dark. When they reach out, respond with calm, measured distance. When they provoke, offer them nothing but stillness. When they search your eyes for the old desperation, let them find only a wall. This is not about punishing them. This is about protecting yourself. You must understand that detachment is not coldness for the sake of cruelty. It is coldness for the sake of clarity. When emotion floods the mind, judgment drowns. You cannot make powerful decisions about your life while you are bleeding on the floor of your feelings. Stand up, dry your eyes, fix your posture. The mask of indifference is not a lie you tell the world. It is the truth you are growing into. Starve the emotional investment. Every attachment survives on one thing: energy. Your thoughts feed it. Your attention waters it. Your obsession is the sunlight under which it grows. If you want this attachment to die, you must starve it. Not violently, not dramatically, strategically. Machiavelli knew that the most effective sieges are not always the loudest. Sometimes you do not storm the gates. You simply cut the supply lines and wait. The fortress falls on its own. Your emotional attachment is that fortress, and you have been supplying it with everything it needs to remain standing. Every time you check their social media, you send supplies. Every time you replay old conversations, you deliver rations. Every time you imagine reconciliation, you extend the siege indefinitely. Stop. The method is simple but demands discipline. Redirect every unit of energy you have been giving to them back to yourself. When your mind drifts toward them, pull it back and anchor it to your purpose. When your fingers reach for their profile, close the application and open something that builds you. When the urge to contact them rises, sit with the discomfort until it passes. And it will pass. Dark psychology confirms that emotional bonds weaken without reinforcement. The brain adapts. Neural pathways that are not used begin to fade. The image of them that burns so brightly today will become a dim flicker if you simply refuse to fuel it. This is not about willpower. This is about redirection. You are not fighting the attachment. You are simply refusing to participate in it. The one who needs less holds all the power. This is a law older than Machiavelli, older than empires, woven into the fabric of every human interaction. Need less, control more, starve what weakens you, feed only what makes you sovereign. Kill the fantasy, embrace reality. Here is the truth you have been avoiding. You are not attached to a person. You are attached to a fantasy, an image you constructed, a version of them that exists only in the theater of your mind, performing scenes they never rehearsed in real life. You fell in love with potential. You fell in love with moments edited together to form a highlight reel while deleting the footage that told the real story. Machiavelli warned against the danger of living in imagination while ignoring the conditions of reality. He wrote that many have pictured republics and principalities that have never been seen or known to exist in truth. You have done the same with this person. You have pictured a relationship, a connection, a future that never truly existed outside of your own longing, and now you suffer not from what was, but from what you imagined could be. This ends now. To detach, you must kill the fantasy with the weapon of brutal, unromantic truth. Sit down. Write out every flaw they possess, not to hate them, but to see them. Write down every time they made you feel small, every moment they chose themselves over you, every red flag you painted green because you were desperate to believe. This is not bitterness, this is clarity. Dark psychology reveals that idealization is a trap. When we fall deeply for someone, we enter a kind of trance state where their flaws become invisible. We project our own capacity for love onto them and assume they carry the same depth. Often they do not. Often we were alone in the depth of our own feelings, swimming in an ocean they only ever waded into ankle deep. The fantasy is the chain. Reality is the key. When you replace the movie in your mind with the documentary of what actually happened, the attachment begins to dissolve. You stop missing them and start recognizing them. You stop longing for their return and start questioning why you ever wanted them to stay. Accept the person they showed you they were, not in their best moments, but in their patterns. Patterns do not lie. Words do. Promises do. But patterns reveal the architecture of someone's true character. See it clearly, and you will no longer wish to live in a building that was never structurally sound. The fantasy is dead. Let it stay buried. Reclaim your identity. Somewhere along the way, you lost yourself. Not suddenly, not dramatically. It happened slowly, like a tide pulling sand grain by grain until the shore you once knew became unrecognizable. You gave pieces of yourself to this person. Your time, your priorities, your sense of worth. And now that they are gone or distant, you stand in the mirror unsure of who stares back. This is the cost of attachment without boundaries. This is the tax you pay for making someone else the center of your universe. Machiavelli understood that a prince who depends entirely on fortune falls when fortune changes. You made this person your fortune. You built your identity around their presence, their validation, their love. And when the winds shifted, you had no foundation left to stand upon. This is not weakness. This is a mistake many powerful men have made before you. But awareness of the mistake is the first step toward correction. Now begins the reclamation. You must ask yourself a question that requires brutal honesty. Who were you before them? What did you enjoy before their preferences influenced your choices? What ambitions did you carry before you started building dreams around someone else's blueprint? Those parts of you are not dead. They are dormant, buried beneath the weight of compromise and emotional labor spent on someone who never matched your investment. It is time to excavate. Dark psychology teaches that identity erosion is one of the most subtle forms of control. When you lose yourself in someone, you become easier to manipulate. You become dependent not just on their affection, but on their definition of who you are. They become the mirror you use to see yourself, and when they distort the reflection, you believe the distortion is truth. Take back the mirror. Define yourself by your own standards, your own values, your own vision. What do you want your life to look like in 5 years? Not with them, not around them, just you. What would you build if no one else's opinion mattered? What would you pursue if you had no one to impress and no one to prove wrong? This is your sovereignty. This is the throne Machiavelli spoke of, not a seat of arrogance, but a seat of self-governance. You are not defined by who chose you or who left you. You are defined by the man you decide to become in the silence of your own ambition. Reclaim your identity piece by piece. Return to old passions. Discover new ones. Rebuild the man who existed before you handed the keys of your worth to someone who did not know how to drive. You are the kingdom. Act accordingly. The strategic silence. There is a move in chess that masters understand, but amateurs overlook. It is not the aggressive strike. It is not the clever trap. It is the quiet retreat. The strategic repositioning that appears passive but sets the stage for total victory. In the game of emotional detachment, silence is that move. You have been conditioned to believe that healing requires conversation, that closure demands confrontation, that you must explain your pain, express your grievances, and hear their response before you can move forward. This is a lie sold to you by a culture addicted to emotional spectacle. Machiavelli would have laughed at such naivety. He knew that words, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. He knew that revealing your position to an adversary is the act of a fool. And make no mistake, anyone who holds power over your emotions and has shown no care for that responsibility is not your ally. They are your adversary in the war for your own peace. Go silent, not with the loud theatrical silence designed to provoke a reaction, not the silence that checks every few hours to see if they noticed your absence. True silence. The silence of a man who has removed himself from the battlefield entirely because he realized the war was never worth fighting. Dark psychology teaches us that absence creates psychological weight. When you disappear without explanation, without drama, without the satisfaction of a final argument, you leave a void. And voids disturb the human mind. They will wonder, they will question, they may even reach out, desperate to understand why the one who once chased now walks away without looking back. But here is the critical instruction. Their response is irrelevant. You are not going silent to manipulate them. You are going silent to liberate yourself. The silence is not a weapon aimed at them. It is a shield raised for you. Every conversation you avoid is energy preserved. Every explanation you refuse to give is dignity maintained. Every urge to reach out that you resist is a brick laid in the foundation of your new self. Let time work its slow, brutal magic. Distance does what arguments never could. It breaks the illusion of intimacy. It reveals how little contact is actually necessary for your survival. It teaches your nervous system that their presence is not oxygen and their absence is not death. You will survive this silence. More than survive, you will be reborn within it. Disappear from their life with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his absence is a statement louder than any words. Do not announce your departure. Do not seek permission to leave. Do not wait for the perfect moment or the final conversation. The perfect moment is now. The final conversation already happened. You simply did not recognize it at the time. Walk away in silence. Let them wonder. Let them search for you in spaces you no longer occupy. And while they search, you will be somewhere far ahead, building a life that no longer includes their name. Transform pain into fuel. You are in pain. I know this. You would not be here, listening to these words, if something inside you was not burning. But let me tell you something about pain that will change the way you see it forever. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is raw material. It is energy in its most unrefined form, waiting to be converted into something powerful. The question is not how to escape the pain. The question is what you will build with it. Machiavelli rose to prominence during one of the most turbulent periods in Italian history. He was imprisoned. He was tortured. He was exiled from the political life he loved more than anything. Lesser men would have crumbled. Lesser men would have drowned in bitterness and self-pity. But Machiavelli took his suffering and transmuted it into words that have shaped leaders for 5 centuries. He did not waste his pain. He invested it. You must do the same. Dark psychology reveals a truth about the human mind that most people ignore. Emotion is energy. Anger, sadness, heartbreak, betrayal, all of it carries voltage. When left undirected, this energy turns inward. It becomes depression. It becomes obsession. It becomes the slow poison of rumination that eats away at your potential while you stare at the ceiling, replaying moments that cannot be changed. But when directed outward, toward creation, toward ambition, toward the relentless pursuit of self-improvement, this same energy becomes rocket fuel. Every great man you admire has a story of pain behind his rise, the betrayal that made him ruthless in his pursuit of success, the heartbreak that drove him to become someone who could never be broken again, the rejection that lit a fire so hot it forged him into something unrecognizable from the weak man he once was. This is your invitation to join their ranks. Take the pain they gave you and use it. Channel the anger into your workouts until your body becomes a fortress. Pour the sadness into your craft until your skill becomes undeniable. Convert the obsession into focus and aim it at goals that will outlast any relationship. Let them become the origin story you never thank them for, but secretly acknowledge in the quiet moments of your success. You are not broken, you are being forged. The fire you feel is not destruction, it is transformation. But transformation only happens if you refuse to let the pain sit idle. Idle pain festers. Directed pain creates. Every morning you wake up with their memory still lingering. You have a choice. You can let that memory push you back into bed, or you can let it push you forward into the life you're building without them. Choose forward. Choose fury over despair. Choose ambition over longing. Choose to become the man who looks back at this season of suffering and recognizes it as the turning point that changed everything. The pain is here. Use it or be used by it. The final severance. You have come far. You have seen the truth of attachment. You have learned to starve it, to silence it, to transform its pain into something useful. But there is one final step remaining: the severance. Not the physical leaving, which you may have already done. Not the silence, which you have already begun. This is deeper. This is the moment you cut the invisible thread that still ties your identity to theirs. This is the death of who you were with them and the birth of who you will be without them. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. You are introducing a new order within yourself. You are overthrowing the regime that placed them at the center of your emotional kingdom and installing yourself as the sole sovereign. This is revolution, and like all revolutions, it requires a decisive act that cannot be undone. The final severance is both ritual and reality. It begins in the mind but must manifest in action. First, the mind. You must consciously release the future you imagined with them, not suppress it. Release it. Acknowledge that it existed. Acknowledge that you wanted it. And then, with the cold precision of a surgeon, cut it away. That future is not yours. It was never guaranteed. It was a story you told yourself, and now the story ends. Grieve it if you must, but do not let grief become residence. Visit the sadness, but do not build your home there. Now, the action. Remove the artifacts. Delete the photographs, not out of anger, but out of architecture. You are redesigning the interior of your life, and these relics no longer fit the blueprint. Remove the messages you have saved for nights when you feel weak. They are landmines disguised as comfort. Remove the physical objects that anchor their presence in your space. Box them, burn them, discard them. It does not matter the method. What matters is the message you send to your own subconscious. They no longer live here. Dark psychology confirms that environmental cues trigger emotional states. As long as your surroundings whisper their name, you will struggle to silence their voice in your mind. Change the environment. Rearrange the furniture if you must. Make your space unrecognizable to the version of you that loved them. Let that version die in rooms that no longer exist. The final severance also requires a confrontation with your own ego. Part of you may still hope they will return. Part of you may still fantasize about the moment they realize what they lost. Acknowledge this part, see it clearly, and then starve it alongside the attachment itself. Their return is not your concern. Their regret is not your reward. Your freedom is not contingent upon their recognition of your worth. You are not doing this to win them back. You are doing this to win yourself back. The cord is cut, not by their hand, not by time alone, by your deliberate, sovereign choice. You are no longer tethered to someone who did not fight to keep you. You are no longer haunted by a ghost you have finally decided to bury. The severance is complete when you can hear their name and feel nothing but the quiet neutrality of ancient history. It is complete when you can see their face and recognize it as a stranger wearing familiar features. It is complete when the thought of them returns, as it sometimes will, and you simply nod, let it pass, and continue building your empire. You are free, not because they released you, because you released yourself. The Sovereign's Declaration. You have walked through the fire. You have learned what Machiavelli knew centuries ago and what most men never discover in a lifetime. Emotional attachment, when uncontrolled, is slavery dressed in the language of love. But you are no longer a slave. You have seen the chains. You have studied their design. And link by link, you have broken them with your own hands. The man who entered this monologue is not the man who now stands at its end. Something has shifted. Something cold and powerful has taken root in the place where desperation once lived. You understand now that detachment is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the refusal to let anyone hold the keys to your peace. It is the quiet, unshakable confidence of a man who knows that his value does not depend on being chosen by those too blind to see his worth. Machiavelli wrote for princes. Today you have claimed your throne, not over nations, over something far more valuable, yourself. The path forward will not always be easy. There will be moments when the old longing returns, when the ghost knocks at doors you thought were sealed forever. But now you have the tools. Now you have the method. Now you have the cold, strategic mind of a man who refuses to be conquered by his own heart. You are untouchable, not because you feel nothing, because you choose what you feel, and for whom. If these words have reached something inside you, if you feel the shift that has taken place, then I ask you to do one thing. Drop a comment below with this phrase, "I am the throne, not the subject." Let that declaration mark this moment. Let it be your signature on the contract of your own sovereignty. And if this message has served you, show your commitment. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a version of you they will never control again. Rise accordingly.